And welcome to Smart Impressions on LinkedIn Live today. My name is Rachel Muleman from the Biz Advisors, and joining me today, I got Trisha Chapman from Impressive CV. Hi, Trisha.
Good morning, Rachel. Really nice to see you.
How's it
As
going?
always, I am from Impressive CV and also Fine Match Recruitment, where I support all of the necessary tools for a successful brand and for a successful placement.
Awesome. Well, Trisha, it's so nice to have you here online. I mean, we've been working together for at least the last couple of years, and it's so nice to just kind of bring people that I love working with into this kind of format so we can talk about how you're looking and helping your clients and how we are helping different sets of clients with different, like similar skills, and that's kind of the purpose of what we're bringing together, the Smart Impressions. There's no doubt LinkedIn is by far one of my favorite platforms on the planet. And I say that because it's the only platform that you could profile by job title, and you could really find people based on who you're trying to reach. So from a sales strategy, it's like the biggest helper, and there's just so many ways to using the platform effectively, but you're helping people that are looking for new opportunities, looking for new skill, like new jobs, and helping recruiters that are looking for the right people. So how are you using this platform effectively?
Yeah, I guess, well, maybe I could take a step back and I think it's a great topic that you have selected today, mastering the persuasion for impact. And I think that it's important, for LinkedIn, how do you actually, first of all, define who your audience is? So to be able to get impact, you know that you need to understand your audience and work out who is actually on your page, who you're connected with, what type of information or content out there resonates with the audience that you've got or trying to build. And then once you've understood your audience, I guess that's when you can tailor, your persuasive approach and the specific needs and values to your audience. And then that, I guess, in turn will reflect to understand what will be motivating them.
Absolutely. I talk all about connecting, but as you mentioned, it's about who are you connecting with, right? And so how do you actually use this platform effectively to really drive those kind of connections, right? And so today's conversation, as we continue moving along, like all about human connections, which is really where the value is for anyone listening. We love to have people online to jump into the conversation, to really ask questions. So invite anyone that's listening to jump in with any questions that you may have throughout our conversation. We talk live for 15 minutes. We keep it short, poppy, every week, Tuesday at 10:30 our time. So it's great to have you here. And like I said, mastering influence and persuasion for impact is what we're talking about today. So assuming that the listeners today have found the right people that they want to connect with, they've already identified who those people are, right? And I think that's probably another show we can talk about how to find those right people, right? how to actually really understand them and to provide that value, and I think if this is a great show for anyone who is maybe definitely in sales, because I'm always talking to salespeople, and when I talk about sales, I think this is one of those skills. We should be taught this in school. We should be taught this every year on how to build these skills, because we need it in the world today, and I know we've talked about AI. I know we talked about the opportunity of technology jumping in and really taking a lot of jobs away, right? But I am like an advocate. I believe that no matter all the AI and technology that comes into play, we're going to need soft skills. And those soft skills are the ones that are going to excel or keep us in positions that computers can't replicate. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess we've been harping on this for the last probably 2 or 3 weeks, but using emotions or appealing to people's emotions, and of course, stories. So telling the emotional side of things to get the empathetic response out of the person. And I guess another thing that we maybe haven't touched on, but building credibility. So how do you do that on LinkedIn? Well, I guess any sort of social media platform, but how do you ensure that you are a credible source of information so that you can then share the right expertise and people then trust you to then effectively be able to, I guess, communicate their desires and the solutions that they would be beneficial from. And that's how the partnerships are formed.
Yeah, I think that's one of our cores that we keep on coming back to, and just showing people different ways to build that, right? Because it's not just a one activity that you can just do. You gotta kind of build it, and it takes time, right? So there's a strategy around this, there's a methodology around it. So if you are a salesperson looking to connect with new customers, or if you are trying to even a leader that's trying to get an entire department of people actually shifting to your new systems or belief systems, or even kind of like an effective change, that a new initiative that you need a huge amount of people to follow you, you got to be able to get persuasive, right? And even if you're public speaking, if you're standing in front of a community, a group of people, you need to be able to get their buy-in. So when you talk about credibility and trust, great, great, great. These are all about how to build this, So imagine you're, I don't know, a project manager that needs to get an approval for a budget of a plan that you are going to actually have to implement, right? But there's other people involved that you need to influence. So this power of an influence, people deal with this every day. How am I going to get someone else who's a decision maker to get on my side? Right. And we may, like, personally, we just finished off summer. I know everyone's coming back for September, but I'm sure many of you guys out there probably had this situation, even in your own families during the summer. How do I influence my siblings, my relatives to really do something that I want everyone to do, So that power of influence and mastering this is huge, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I see Enga is on jumping online, so I love this. And she first question came up already before we even jumped into the tips to discuss. But she says connecting with overseas different cultures will be a little challenging. And I love this, right? Because this is a big question, especially in the Middle East, especially in Dubai, especially in the emerging markets in general. You're having people from different countries working beyond those borders.
Yeah.
Right? So how do you master that influence? Great question. Thank you, Enga.
I love it. And what about, even though we're geographically, I guess, well, we're difficult. We can't just, go over and pop over and meet, shake a hand. But what about having live problem solving? So there's no reason that if you've got customers, there is a few of them, or even people trying to solve, for example, sales strategies, and they're struggling. Why not be hosting a live platform like this where you can openly address customer complaints or challenges in real time, and then people can actually see that you're dedicated to resolving the issues and then building that trust and transparency to an issue that maybe many people are faced.
Absolutely. I think using some of these platforms and connect as a way of connecting more and just showing your value is by far unimaginable. This was not even, an opportunity that we had decades ago, right? But now today you can jump online. You don't need to be paying much money to do it. LinkedIn Live to your audience. You can connect with more people and build your audience, and you can get this sense of community so you can start showing your value. So I want to touch on Enga's conversation and her points, because going across borders is no doubt a challenge for many people. How do you create that influence, right? And how do you be able to persuade the customers you're talking to, especially when you have a challenge like a language barrier, or a challenge like a culture barrier, which if somebody comes into your office and they are similar to you, immediately there's a synergy of same, right? And people connect easier on that level. But if you don't have something that's similar, what is going to help you? And so we got those tips for you today. I want to start with the first tip. It's all about understanding your audience. And, Tricia mentioned this earlier about how do you understand who your target market is. But once you do, it's all about understanding who they are and what drives them, and effectively influencing people. When you need to start with what are their needs, what motivates them, and you really got to start with a list of questions to understand them. So many times I see it more than often. A salesperson will go, or even a person going in for an interview, I'm sure you see this or many times, people will go into an environment and try to sell themselves. It's all about me. Let me sell you the best product. Let me sell you the best, solution. And let me tell you all about me. And personally, I think this is the worst thing you can do. There is definitely value to it, but it's about moderating that value and information. And so really, I'm challenging you all before you go into your next meeting, figure out the questions that you want to find out about that other person, right? And so let me give you an example for a second. Imagine you go into a doctor's office and the doctor says, hello, I have this medicine. I want to give you this medicine. Start taking this medicine and you're going to be fine. How do you feel? What's your initial reaction? What would you say, Trisha? You feel like you want to take my medicine if I was a doctor giving you something?
Well, I mean, this is where the difference between someone that's got a critical mindset or not, okay, yes, no problems, thank you, doctor. Or what does this medicine actually do? What's the side effects? Is there a huge cost associated with this, or is it subsidized by the government? Or, so it depends on what sort of mindset or how prepared you are coming into it, whether you just literally accept it or prompt more questions.
Well, different cultures will have different values of how much they trust a doctor. Some people put a doctor before God in some cultures, right? So the point I'm trying to make is, do you trust me? Did I ask you anything about your illness? Did I ask you anything about your pain for you to say, all of a sudden believe that me giving you a medicine was the right approach? So, the question is, how are you going to build that trust? So if you're just going to if someone's going to just take your information and your product without even asking questions or you knowing about their pain, there's not going to be a connection. There's going to be a lack of connection and a high level of distrust, I would say, right? So first point, understand your audience and get those questions down so that you can uncover what motivates them, what they're experiencing. And every salesperson is kind of solving a pain. I think every person looking for a job and going to fill a position is solving a pain as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's important to the right sort of language. So making sure that the language from either whether you're asking the questions from the patient side or from the doctor's side, in relation to your example here, but using the right language or words is really, really vital to understand the full context of the situation.
Yeah, and so questions start that journey. So Enga keeps jumping in there and I love it. She says the question is how we build the trust. And you're right. How do you build the trust? So tip 1 is understand them. So you ask the questions. And I want to challenge you a step further, and I think we'll take this into another conversation, is what questions to ask. But keep open-ended questions, right? If I ask you, how was your summer? Versus, did you have a good summer? Those are two different ways of asking a question. One of them, the answer is going to be yes or no. Did you have a good summer? Yes or no. That's a closed question. How was your summer? Now that's an open question. And that leaves it open for you to start getting very descriptive in your discussion, right?
Absolutely. And then active listening. So making sure that in your response, you pick up a couple of those keywords and then repeating that back to that person. And then that's what inevitably supports or gains that trust.
Absolutely. So I love absolutely. I'm loving this word so much. I even put it in my response to Enga. So absolutely is the way we've got to build that trust. So the questions and how you ask those questions is the first thing that I think is really important. And you see in job interviews, they're asking those open-ended questions as well to get to know you. If you look at it from the other perspective, they're asking, what challenges did you overcome in your last career, for example? That's a very, very popular one, right?
Absolutely. And be prepared. It doesn't matter whether it's for a job interview or your sales pitch or whatever the scenario. Be prepared in terms of rehearsing those questions or answers that you're going to be giving in the car on the way to the trip, or in your own mind. The more that you are cohesive with the best response, then the more smoothly it's likely to go.
Yeah, I would say point number 2 to really mastering this influences is storytelling, right? If I could tell you a story about this great moment in time where I was actually trying to get, as I was sharing earlier, a budget approval. And I was able to actually go through this journey of, I've gone and I've hunted and I've saw this other options and I saw that maybe this one wasn't good enough. And I saw that, I've created kind of a journey, kind of once upon a time, I was trying to get approval for a budget, right? And I considered all the alternatives, and I created a great plan so that I could show exactly what the value is going to be, and I compared it to competitors. This journey of storytelling is going to be huge, really make an impact. And I just got we got the 15-minute timer that just popped up. I know we're trying to keep it short and sweet, but this is a conversation that we can go on for a while, and I love Enga jumped in again. She says, the way we communicate will impact the trust we receive. And you're 100% right. So think about those questions. I want to challenge you today, before you go into your next meeting, think about those questions and think about how you're going to tell a story about someone that achieved results that you're trying to get from the same person that you're talking to. 2 tips we got for you today. Hopefully they help you impact the world of your sales and your recruitment for tomorrow. With Trisha Chapman, Rachel Muleman, it's so nice to have you at Smart Impressions. Another great Tuesday. I wish you a wonderful week.
Bye, guys.
Have a great day.